Hello again. So I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about a few things. I was sitting here thinking about conversation I had with someone earlier about well we called it a hiccup. And I was talking to them about hiccups are necessarily setbacks. And so we were just discussing that. And you guys hear me say a lot of time, hurt people, broken people, break people. And so you have to be very mindful of, even in ministry, your circle. There's a difference, and I tell people all the time, there's a difference between ministry and investment, and that's a whole story for another day. And those of you who have sat and talked with me before already know what that means, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. So a while back, I was dealing with some things, and in the particular life that I have, you run across people that, do things, deliberately to just, hurt you, right? And I know you're like, no, not Pastor Tiffany. Yes. Me of all people, people do things to just deliberately get on your skin and hurt you, try to, damage you, right? But I'm the type of person, been in the game a while, so things don't really get under my skin very often at all. Just kind of rolls off my back like duck feathers, right? Well, a while back, something was like brought to my attention. And when it was brought to my attention, it kind of hit home. And when it hit, it hurt, you guys. It did. It got right in the core of my heart. Because what happened affected not just me, it affected someone really close to me that I could, lose one day. And so it really, really did. It hurt the core of me. And so as I began to kind of try to walk it off, I realized the next day that thing was still there. It just kept popping up in my mind and popping up in my spirit. And I felt the way about the individual and what they did. And so I took it to God and I said, God, I can't be calling myself a woman of God if I feel the way about one of my brothers or sisters. So I need you to help me deal with this situation, right? I'm a little comfortable right now. Been running errands, and I came home to just kind of chill before rehearsal. So I said, what do I do with this? Because I feel a way about this, right? And so after I talked to God, I prayed about it. God reminded me. Sometimes you got to bring messages back up, bring up counseling sessions and stuff. And so God reminded me, hurt people, broken people. And so it reminded me of where this individual was, spiritually and naturally. And you have to remember, people do things. And some people do some really mean things, some not nice things. And sometimes they, you have to understand that they're in a place of brokenness. They're in a place where they're hurt. They're in a place where they're dealing with stuff. And so you can't look at them as a person, as an offender, but you got to look at them as a victim. And, and I had to remember this individual is a victim themselves. They're broken themselves. And so in the midst of that, they lashed out and something happened, if it even happened, and I say if it even happened, because the one thing I always do, and everybody knows this about me, you bring me something happens, the first thing I'm going to do is we go into the person, we could have a conversation. And that's something as men and women of God and Christians, kingdom builders, we have to do is have communication. We have to be able to sit down and have a conversation with each other and anybody when something is come up. We sit there all the time and say, Sister Sue did this, Brother Sue did this. And you know what? The devil did not use me because I didn't say nothing back. I didn't let them steal my joy. I still got to praise. But you know what you didn't do was go to Sister Sue or Brother Sue and find out why they did it, why it happened. And so it festers a seed. And the Bible says you put your gift down and you're going to have a conversation because that seed is there. You may not have said nothing to them. You may not have had an explosion, but there's a seed there. And when you see them, they're still a little, because you never said nothing. And so I'm not fooling with Sister Sue. I'm not talking to Sister Sue. I'll smile at them and say, God bless you. But there's a seed. And you don't know why they did it. Or even if they did it on purpose, they may not even know they offended you. So sometimes you got to go and sit down and have these uncomfortable conversations so the enemy is not planting seeds amongst brothers and sisters in Christ. So let me piggyback to where I was. Anyways, I don't know who that was for, but we're going to get back to where we was at, okay? I didn't make that call, you know, but I remembered where the person was. And so when I did, I was able to let go of what I was feeling and move on with my life. So, I was like, hey, I'm cool. I don't have no feelings. I'm not upset with this person because I remembered, you know, where that person was and what that person was dealing with. And I realized that, even though they did what they did or they said what they said, if they did, it wasn't towards me. It was just the enemy using that situation. So let it go, move on, and be a big girl about it and continue on with God's work. Piggy, here we are, moving on with our lives, and it's about a week or so later, and I see the individual. Because you got to understand, even though I moved on and I feel good, and when I see him, I see love, I still got to make sure my hands are clean. And so when I see them, I sit down with them. I said, I want to talk to you. And they said, yeah, what's going on? Because mind you, they have no clue what I know. They have no clue what was brought to my table. And I sat down with them and I said, I want to talk to you because something was brought to my attention. And I said, when it was brought to me, I didn't call you and tell you that I was told XYZ. And they looked at me because they were shocked because they were like, oh my God, you were told what? And I said, yeah, I was. And one, I don't want to really get into this unless you want to, because I'm not talking to you about the situation. I don't care about who did what, this. I don't even care about that. I'm not even interested in it unless you want to talk about it. But what I am interested in, the fact that I want to apologize to you, because when it was brought to me, one, I didn't call you, and then two, I felt the way about it. I said, I want to apologize to you for the way I felt about you when it was brought to me. Right? Yeah, it wasn't cool. No, the situation wasn't right. But the fact that I felt the way about it towards you wasn't right either. The fact that I didn't call you wasn't right either. I was like, and so whether you're sorry, whether you're not sorry, whether it's this, whether it's that doesn't even matter. None of that matters. What does matter is my part that was played in it. I apologize that I felt upset with you and that I really didn't like you for a few seconds or for a day or so. I didn't like what you did. And I said, and it made me feel away. So I want to apologize to you for my part. As a woman of God, I can't be walking around here having an alt against you because you did whatever. That doesn't even matter. What you did don't matter. What matters is me. But I want you to know I love you. And I want you to know I'm always here for you. And I want you to know that if you need me to pray for you, fast with you, whatever you need, I'm here. I apologize because of my part in it. Now, here's the thing. No, I didn't do anything physically to them. No, I didn't lie on them. I didn't try to hurt them. I didn't put them down. But the fact that I had ill feelings towards them in my heart, even if it was for just a day and a half, even when I let it go and I moved on, it was still there for a second. And I could have picked that phone up and called them. But because I knew for a while they've been doing things for me, repeat. But they found a nick. They found something to get in there. Finally, I got it. And it did. Okay, now let me fix that moment. It was a moment. And in that moment, God used that situation to teach me, to keep me humble, and to keep me in a place of humility so I can continue growing in him. You got to understand, the Bible says, humble yourself or you'll be humbled. I have no issue humbling myself at any time. It doesn't matter what your title is, your position is. I have no issue humbling myself to say I love a brother or a sister, to say you still mean the world to me, to say I'm going to pray with you, fast with you, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. A brother and sister can do you wrong over and over and over again. But that doesn't mean you pick and choose who you pray for. You pick and choose who you pray with. You pick and choose who you fast for. Because one day they may need you. And you have to have enough purity in your heart for them to be able to still pray effectively and purely with them. But you can't do that if you hover and stuff. So I got to make sure my heart is pure no matter what. And so that's the thing about it. You got to keep that open spiritual airway with whoever it is, no matter what. And so I wanted to make sure we understood that. I wanted to make sure I was transparent enough to tell you, hey, communication between brothers and sisters is so important. You can always say, I didn't blow up, I didn't get upset, but did you go and get it right? Did you have a talk about it? Did you sit down and say, let's talk about it?